How is it going, everybody? I am Carlos Gonzales. I am one of the success coaches here at Coastal College. And today we're going to be making a traditional salsa recipe. This was handed down from the ages through the Mexican analogs, I'm guessing. But so it's very simple. We have our ingredients right here, which is tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, 1 serrano pepper, and garlic. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be blending them all up and then roasting it. And I'm going to walk you through step by step on how this is going to work. Okay, so first thing we got to do is get your ingredients. And I just mentioned them before. What we're going to do is we're going to prepare the tomatoes, and then we're going to be blending them directly after the preparation. So what we're going to do, I have 7 tomatoes here. This is Roma tomatoes. You can use any kind of tomato you want to use. I'm using Roma because that's what we have. So there we go. So what I'm doing here is I am slicing the front and tops, the top and back off the tomato, so they have a flat spot on the front and the bottom. So that's what we're doing. Once we have the end of the tomatoes cut off, we're going to cut them into halves and then cut those halves into halves as well. So we can see right here, 4 little pieces going straight into the blender. We're going to repeat this 7 times because I have 7 tomatoes. I have 7 tomatoes because they were kind of small. Roman tomatoes aren't the largest tomatoes. If you had grapevine tomatoes, they would maybe need about 4 or 5 of those, or even salad tomatoes, probably about 4 or 5 as well. So all I'm doing here is continuing to cut the tops and bottoms of the tomatoes and throwing them into the blender. And we're going to blend these up as soon as the preparation for them is complete. Ooh, this was a juicy one. Juice is going everywhere. Tomato juice all up in here. Here we go. 7 tomatoes coming up. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Now, I made this recipe last year for Hispanic Heritage Month, and one of the best compliments I could ever have was from a student came and told me this recipe tasted just like the salsa his mother makes. So that was a big compliment, and I hope the student was not lying. Here we go, continuing to prep my tomatoes needed for the salsa, cutting the tips off and then cutting them into cutting them into 4 sections. There we go. And I got 2 more tomatoes here ready to go. Cutting the tips off. And typically, now what I did do earlier is I rinsed all my vegetables. So you definitely want to rinse them if you haven't done that. Typically you just rinse them under the sink. So that's all you really got to do. I rinsed them and put them back into the bags much earlier. So I have pre-rinsed all of my vegetables. Okay. Here we go. Bam. That was my last tomato. I am going to go ahead and put my excess tomato tops and bottoms into the pan, or into the bag here, and that will be discarded. What we're going to do here, now that we have the tomatoes into the blender, we're going to blend them up. So typically what I do here is get a spoon. We're going to get a spoon, or we're going to put the lid on, and we're going to hit blend. We're going to do it by pulsing it. So I think this works best if you just kind of go little by little. Okay, well, if this was on. Okay, always something going on here. Let's see. Okay, that one's not working. We're going to try a different plug. Can you still see me right here? You can still see me on this camera. All right, here we go. Just trying a different outlet. Okay, always something. Here we go. There we are. And we have power. So, excuse me, you might encounter this. What I've had to do before is kind of push down the tomatoes, kind of jump start it with the blender. So I push them down a little bit. Now this might seem dangerous, just be careful. The blades are way at the bottom. What I'm going to do here is push these down with the spoon. Okay, there it goes. There we go. There it goes. Okay. Sometimes it takes a bit to get it started. Once you get them started, there shouldn't be that big of a deal. Here we go. Blending it all up. See, finally got them blended. Sometimes you do have to push them down a little bit in there. Be very, very careful if you're going to put anything in there while you're turning it on. So please, safety is always first. Make sure to be safe whenever you're doing this. Okay. So we can see now that I have these tomatoes blended up, they're looking pretty good. You can go ahead and let's take a look in there and try not to make that much of a mess. So this was 5 tomatoes. Now that I'm looking at this, we maybe could have used 1 more. That's not a big deal. Okay, so we have the tomatoes blended. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get our jalapenos, garlic, and onions ready. So this recipe does call for a full onion. If you don't like onions that much, you can use half an onion. That's totally fine too. So what I'm doing here is just prepping the onion, cutting the top off. Now I usually just kind of rip the first couple layers off. That's my tactic. There's a couple different ways you can do this. This might be a way just to start ripping off at it. Here we go. Trying to discard the pieces as we go so I don't make that much of a mess in here. Okay. And bam. Okay, we have the onion. I'm cutting the root off. And I'm going to go ahead and just cut this into 4 sections just like I did with the tomatoes. And we're going to put this in the blender as well. Now we're not just going to blend the onion and tomatoes, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to use 2 jalapeno peppers. If you like spice, you can add more jalapeno peppers. If you don't like spice as much, you can add 1. But I am a fan of the spice and the heat, so I am putting in 2 whole jalapenos, and we're also going to add the serrano pepper. This jalapeno look kind of black. I discarded. I cut that part off so it's not going to go in the salsa. If you're not a fan of heat, you can remove the inside of the jalapenos here. Now a lot of people say you can do it with a spoon. I think it's good enough if you just kind of get the knife, kind of cut up in there, and there you go. And you can remove it like this. So if you don't like heat that much, you can remove the seeds and the inside like that, or you can just leave it in there like this. I'm going to leave this one in whole because I do like the heat. And we're going to slice this one in half. So what I have here is 2 jalapenos cut in half, and only one of them has been cored. Going in the blender. Okay, and I did just mention I do like heat. That is why I'm also throwing in 1 serrano pepper. I actually have 2 serrano peppers here. I think I'm going to use both of them actually. Yeah, forget what I just said here. We're going to be using 2 jalapenos and 2 serrano peppers. This one, they're kind of small. And I will not be pouring these out because I enjoy the heat. If you're not a fan of heat, you can cut out the seeds to these as well. And here we go. Last thing we're going to need is 2 cloves of garlic. So what I have here is an entire clove of garlic. This was, I may not have mentioned this before, all of this recipe was $2.21 at the local grocery store. So this is a very cost-effective recipe. You can make the whole thing for under $3. And what I'm doing here is just trying to pull off a clove. Come on, garlic. I'm going to have to get in here with a knife. There we go. 1 clove and 2 cloves. Here we go. Okay. So the trick to getting the cloves out of the shells here, pressing them. Bam, there we go. Just crushed it. Putting in 1 clove right there, and the next clove right here. Come on. Oop, be careful. Here we go, crushed it. And here is, oh, forgot to cut some of this off. And here we go. Okay, so now we have the tomatoes already blended. We have the onion, the 2 jalapenos, 2 serrano peppers, and 2 cloves of garlic. Oh yeah, blending up real nice. If you have a food processor, that's okay. You can use a food processor. I have a blender. I think the blender is a little more effective in making it a very fine sauce. So here you go, blending it up. So once you have the tomatoes blended, the onions, jalapenos, and serranos will all blend easy as well. So here we go. It's super blended. Oh, that smells so amazing. I wish we had smell-o-vision, but you could smell this. This is amazing. So now that we have everything blended in here, we're more than halfway done. What I'm going to do here is I have two methods here. I have one of a slow cooker and one of a pot. Now I have these on warm. These have been getting here warm for about 30 minutes. Now I have the pot because I believe the pot is a little bit easier, right? It's a little bit easier. I shouldn't have said easier. I should have said quicker. It's a little bit quicker. When you put it here in the pot, you want to let it roast maybe about 30 minutes. And what we want is all of the air bubbles in here to get out. So we're going to put half of it here in the pot, and we're going to put the other half in a slow cooker. So the slow cooker here, it might take about 1 to 2 hours for it to get all of the air bubbles out of here. And if maybe you have limited space, maybe you have limited appliances. So each one of these methods works fine. Either you put it in a pot on the stove, let it simmer for about 30 minutes, and it also imparts really good roasted flavor. So here we go. Now we're putting this into the slow cooker. Now there's a little bit less. I wanted to make this even, but it looks like there's a little bit less in the slow cooker. Not a big deal. And I have had the slow cooker on for about an hour. It's been on for about an hour here. So now that this is all in here, what we're going to do is add salt and pepper. This is the last ingredients we're really going to need, is we're going to add salt and pepper. We're going to put a couple of dashes of pepper here, a little bit more here. And that was the pepper, and here's the salt. Okay, well, maybe if I have one of those open. Here's the salt. Here we go. Some salt. Some salt. Okay. So if you wanted to, you could also add a tablespoon of vinegar. That might help it last a little bit longer in the fridge. But now all we're really going to do is let it simmer, and we're going to see it. Right now it's this kind of milky, cloudy, white kind of color. After it simmers for 30 minutes, or maybe for about 30 minutes in the pot, or maybe about an hour here in the slow cooker, you'll see that that whiteness is going to get away, and it'll turn that nice, deep red color that we're looking for. Okay, so now we're mostly done. Let me give it a stir here. This is going to be chilling. Okay. So like I said, we're basically done. This is a very simple recipe, a very basic recipe, but it also has very good on flavor. Lots of flavor packed into here with all these fresh vegetables that we put in. You can see it's kind of a cloudy flavor, kind of a milky white in there. That is going to go away once it simmers for about 30 minutes to an hour. And the more you let it simmer, the more flavorful it can become. It can impart a roasted type flavor. And yeah, so if you want to roast it for more than 30 minutes or in the pot, or for more than 2 hours in the slow cooker, you can totally do that. It depends on how much time you have and your personal flavor, your personal preference. We're letting that simmer. Let's blend this up a little bit. I'm going to turn this a little bit higher. This seems to be taking longer than I would like. Here we go. We're going to get it to a roaring boil. A roaring boil. Oh yeah. It's never good to have cleaning products next to the food. Typically a good idea. Clean up my mess. Here we go. Okay, always good to stay clean, so you're going to see me spray down the table, making sure we keep our mess clean, trying to prevent the spread of COVID-19. That's right. Wipe this down. There we go, wiping it down. Okay. There we go, cleaned it up. It's like I never made the mess in the first place. All right. Okay. So like I said, the one with the slow cooker, it is going to take a significantly longer time for it to get that cloudiness, that milky color out of it. As soon as this heats up and gets to a small boil, we'll clearly see how the color changes and how that air, all that air that comes into the salsa when you blend it, it will evaporate or it will disperse once you heat it up. So that's the main reason why we're putting it in the pot, is to get rid of that air, that cloudy color, and to impart some flavor. So that's the second reason. If I had it on the correct burner, that would probably help. Okay. Just waiting for it to get hot. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing now. Okay, so now that I have the pot on the correct burner, I hate when I do this. I do this all the time. I wish I could say this is my first time. Make sure whenever you have the burner on and you put the pot on the burner, make sure you have the correct one on. Typical good advice. Typically good advice. Okay. Okay. Okay, yes, here we go. Still looking over here. Okay, so this one is feeling pretty good. Go ahead and put a lid on that one. I have the lid for this. Excuse me, I'm trying to cough, trying not to cough. So I just put the lids on them. This one's going to simmer. This one's still going to take about another 30 minutes for it to get the color that we like. Sorry, not 30 minutes. This one's going to take about an hour for it to get to the color I like. So forgive me on that. This one takes about an hour or two. This one takes about 30 minutes. And we're already seeing this bubble. This is what we want. Okay. Looking very good. It's getting to the bubble, or it's starting to boil. It starts to have those bubbles in there. That's what we're looking for. Yes. So now we're just being patient. Okay, yes, we can already see a lot of that air that got in the salsa when we were blending it. A lot of it is already starting to leave. That milky whiteness is going away. One more time. Yes, we can clearly see this is getting towards the color that we would recognize. Okay. Oh, and it smells amazing. When you have your head right above this, and be careful, it might be spicy. Ooh. I think some of that got in my eye. Some of the jalapeno vapors got in my eye. Goodness. Be careful. You can see right there those really strong bubbles going on, and you can see that cloudiness, that cloudy color is going away. All right. So now you can see that the redness is starting to appear, that white cloudiness is starting to evaporate. And now that this is happening, I'm going to reduce the heat. Right now it's on about a medium high. We're going to go ahead and turn it down to a medium low. Excuse me. This is looking great. Phenomenal. Yes, this is the color we want. So you don't have to cook it like this. I do it like this because it's the fastest way to get the air out of the salsa. If you just put it in a Tupperware bowl and then put it in your fridge, it might take a day or two, and then you'll notice that cloudy white color will go away, and then you'll eventually will become this red color that you're so used to, that salsa where it should look like. It should have that red color. At least the tomato-based salsa should have this red color. And it is looking so good. Okay, now let's take a look here at the slow cooker. Like I said, the slow cooker one is going to take significantly slower. The temperature on this one is a lot less than the pot. So this one will take a little bit longer. It still has that cloudy white color I mentioned before, and that is what we want to go away. Okay, this is looking really good. All right. Oh, looks so good. This is the way salsa should look. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and take it off the heat. Oh yes, you can see that. That's a much deeper red color. A lot of that whiteness is gone. And let's compare that to the salsa still in the slow cooker. And it still has that whiteness, that cloudiness that we really don't want in a salsa. People would say, what's up with the salsa? It has this white color to it. And that will go away once we roast it or you let it sit for a good amount of time. Now typically, like I said, you could roast it for about 30 minutes or until that color is gone. You could cook it for longer if you like that roasted type of flavor. Also, if you reduce it, it will make the salsa thicker, so you can cook it for a longer amount of time. A lot of that moisture will evaporate, and all that stuff will be that goodness, that salsa goodness that will stay behind. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. For the most part, we're good. Okay. What we're gonna do here is we're just going to put some in a styrofoam cup. Oh yes, oh yeah. Looking really good here. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and try some of the chips. Let's see what we got. Alright, here we go. Ooh, still really hot. You can see the steam. Let me get in here. Let me see. Let's look at this color. Can you see the redness that I'm talking about? Yeah, you can't really see it. But just know that that white color that I mentioned before is gone. Let's see, can this camera a little better? A little redness, a little, very much a salsa color here. This is the salsa that we're used to. Okay, let's give it a shot. Okay, you can see the steam, maybe you can see the steam coming off it. Oh yeah, very good salsa flavor. Yeah, you can taste the tomatoes, you can taste the onion. You can taste a little bit of the spice. Oh yes, fantastic. So, there you go. That's salsa. The salsa video. And I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you recreate this recipe at your home. And make sure to add your own spice, your own flavor to it. You can add other types of tomatoes. You can add other types of jalapenos. You can eat, whoa, got me a little bit there. But yes, I hope you enjoy it. I wish you could taste it right now. It tastes amazing.